This is 5.1a, Part 1. In this section, we're going to be looking at the equation of a line and the different forms of an equation of a line. So when we're talking about line here, it's always a straight line. So for example, like this, okay? So nothing curved. We're not going to be talking about any kind of curved lines at all. We're just looking at linear relations, so that means a straight line. There are three different forms for an equation of a line. We have slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to mx plus b. We have standard form, ax plus by is equal to c. And we have point slope form. Okay. You do not need to memorize these. We're going to be going over them in more detail, and they would be on an equation, like a formula sheet. Okay. The first one we're going to be looking at is slope-intercept form. So that's here, slope-intercept form. Okay. So x and y are, let's say we have a point here, let's say, 2 and 3. We label those as x and y, okay? So that's the x and the y here. So our two new letters, we have an m and we have a b, okay? So m is the slope of the line. So here we have a line. The slope says how steep it is, okay? So something like this is going to have a different slope than a line that goes up like this. This one is a lot steeper than this one. Okay, so that's the slope, how steep the line is. And b is the y-intercept. So remember, this is our graph, okay? We have two axes here. We have the x-axis and we have the y-axis. So the y-intercept is where our line intersects the y-axis. So let's say we had a line like this, okay? Our y-intercept would be whatever number this was right here, okay, where it intersects this y-axis. So that's the y-intercept, and then the slope is how steep the line is, okay? Okay, so we can write the equation of the line in the slope-intercept form if here they're giving us the slope and they're giving us the y-intercept. So in this case, we would write out our formula. Y is equal to mx plus b. We're going to leave the y and the x. We're just going to fill in our m and our b. So y is equal to, our m here is 3. So we write 3x. And our b is telling us our b here is a 4. So we'll put 4. Okay. So that's it for this one. Y is equal to mx plus b. That's all they're asking you to do. Okay. Now here in the next one, here they're giving you a slope-intercept form. Now in slope-intercept form, you can have fractions. That's okay. You do not need to change them into a decimal. You can leave them as fractions. And it says, what is the slope and the y-intercept? So the slope is our m, so it's right in front here. So that's our m, our slope. So m is equal to, we just copied exactly, -3/5. Remember, the negative always goes at the top. And our y-intercept, we can also call that our b, would be 3/4. This value here. You could also write this as 0,3/4. Either one is fine, okay? Like this, or more official as a point. As long as you know, if you see it written as a point, you know that to take the second value here, the number, as your b. Okay, so that's slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is the most useful form. It's very useful for graphing, for figuring out the slope. You can read it easily. Usually if you're given one of these other two forms, you'll have to convert it into slope-intercept form. They'll ask you to do that. Okay, so next form that we're going to look at is standard form. So that's this, standard form. So here we still have x and y the same way we had it in this form, okay? But now we have an a, b, and a c. Okay, so none of these, a, b, or c, will tell you what the slope is. None of them will tell you what the y-intercept is, okay? So it's less useful in terms of direct information. So when the equation is given in standard form, you must first convert it to slope-intercept form to be able to graph it or find the slope and the y-intercepts. So one thing to note about standard form is there can be no fractions in the A, B, or C. Okay. So now it says change this standard form into slope-intercept form. So we're going to do this in a few steps. So we want to get it to look like y is equal to mx plus b. That's what we're going for when it says slope-intercept form. So my recommendation for these questions would write what you're aiming for right on top. So now we can see in this, what we're aiming for, we have the y all by itself on the left-hand side of our equals. Here we have an x and a y on the left-hand side. So our first step is going to be to move this to the other side. Okay, so step one, move the x term to the right side of the equal sign. So I'll start off by writing 2x minus 3y is equal to 12. And then I'm going to move my 2x. Okay, so this is positive right now. I'm going to do the opposite of that. I'll subtract 2x from both sides. So that way, these are going to cancel out. Okay, positive 2x, negative 2x cancel. And now it's going to be over here. So I'll rewrite that. Negative 3y, that didn't change at all, is equal to negative 2x plus 12. Now the reason I wrote the negative 2x before the 12 and not after it is if I look at what I'm going for here, I have my x term before the b. So this needs to be before the number. So that I just wrote it like that right away. So it sticks in right here, okay, in front. So the next thing I notice if I'm looking here is that there's no number in front of my y. Okay, it's blank in front of the y. So that means that any number that's in front of the y, I need to get rid of. When here this is a separate term, so I'm going to subtract the whole thing to get rid of it. Here, this negative 3 is stuck to the y. There's nothing in between them. So to get rid of it, I need to divide because it means that these two are multiplying. So I have to do the opposite of that, which is divide. So I'm going to divide every single thing by negative 3. So then this negative 3 and this negative 3, they cancel out. So I just get y is equal to. Here, 2 divided by 3, there's no nice whole number that divides 2 by 3. So I'm just going to leave it as a fraction. However, here I have a negative and a negative, so those negatives are going to cancel out. So I get 2 over 3x. Next one I have 12 divided by negative 3. Now this one I can do, and it will give me a nice whole number, and that's going to be negative 4. Okay, so now this form matches what I'm looking for up here. Okay, so here's my slope, 2 over 3, whatever's right in front of my x, so I can write that here, 2 over 3. And my y-intercept, which is right here, and I can write that here. So negative 4 is my y-intercept. Or you might see it written as 0, negative 4. Okay, so now you're going to stop here and we're going to try some homework. So page 196, number 9 is like this. So you're going to do that first. And then you're going to go to page 194, number 2, and that's going to be like this. Okay, so you can give that a try and then come back for part 2.